Hi everyone, it's Taheerah, and today I'm bringing you a quick product review and a getting started guide to the MISTI. The MISTI stands for Most Incredible Stamping Tool Invented, and I can vouch for it, it really is. The MISTI is produced by a company called My Sweet Petunia, and I'm just bringing you a quick video. There's been plenty of videos out there about how amazing this stamping tool is, what it can do, loads and loads of different techniques, and I will bring you some of those in later videos. But today I just wanted to show you a little bit about what MISTI is and how you should use it once you get it out the box. Okay, so the MISTI is a stamping tool, and basically it will help you with all of your positioning, restamping, overstamping, loads and loads of techniques. And now that I have it, I don't know how I'd lived without it, and I actually have to stop myself from using it every single time I stamp in case I lose my stamping skills. So, before we get started with the actual MISTI, I just want to talk about how it comes when you get it out of the box. Now, My Sweet Petunia ships worldwide, and mine came all the way from the US to the UK, and I can tell you that it came in completely pristine condition, really well packaged, and it's worth forking out for, even if the postage seems a little bit steep to you. So, the MISTI comes gift wrapped, bubble wrapped rather, and once you get it out of the package you get a wonderful MISTI stamping tool, and then the rest of the things that you get with it are accessories in case you need them. You can get these super magnets, which I've got 4 of. They're really useful for helping you to keep your positioning of your paper and cardstock, so I recommend getting those. There is the Novus Plastic Clean and Shine. This is the only product that My Sweet Petunia recommends for cleaning the MISTI, and any other kind of plastic cleaners, screen cleaners, etc. will fog the plastic on the lid, so it's really recommended that you stick with the recommended product. Other things that you can get with your MISTI include a grid pad. My Sweet Petunia does include a printout on their website for the grid pad in case you want to use it and print out your own sheets. But this grid pad is exactly the right size for the MISTI, and it's got loads and loads of sheets included, so it's worth investing in as well, I think. The accessories are only a few dollars a piece, so they're really worth it when you consider the initial investment that you're putting out of the tool. So, I'll just quickly take you through some of the features of the MISTI, but before we get started, I just want to talk about one thing that is really important to include. That is this piece of what looks like cardstock when you get it out of the package. It says, "Do not discard vinyl cling to be applied over the screen printing on exterior of MISTI." Basically, the lid of the MISTI, the grid pattern that you see, is screen printed, and so you want to actually protect that from rubbing off in future. So My Sweet Petunia includes this vinyl cling to put on the lid, and I'm actually going to give you a very quick tutorial of how to apply that successfully without any air bubbles and in exactly the right place. So I'll be right back. Okay, so for applying your vinyl cling to the MISTI, there are a couple of rules I just recommend to get started with. One is just to make sure that your lid is completely clean and clear of dust. So just use a lint-free cloth and just gently wipe it. Your MISTI will come completely clean out of the box, of course, but if you have an environment with dust or pet fur or anything like that, ask me how I know, then that can quickly attract to the lid of the MISTI. So we're going to be applying this vinyl cling, and it's actually a clear sheet of vinyl that's on the other side, and if you look at it, it's not exactly the same size as the MISTI lid, so we're just going to be very careful about how we position it. And what we're going to do to begin with is just try and get this in frame for you properly. The vinyl is very clingy, and you can hear it already kind of starting to stick to the MISTI lid. What we're going to do is just gently peel up the top edge of that cardstock. I'm just going to make a little fold in it like that. That's just so we have something to grab onto when we're going to pull the plastic off. Okay, so the way I would recommend you do this is just line up on the lid where you want the plastic to go against the hinge edge of the MISTI, like so. Now the cling is statically attracted to the lid of the MISTI. That means that there's no adhesive on either side, so you can use whichever side you want to get that vinyl in place. So you can see I've just used my thumb to smooth out the plastic. And the best advice I can give you from this point is to just remember those dot matrix printers. They go back and forth really slowly, and that's what we're going to do as we gently lift off the cardstock. And just lift it slowly at a time and bring your thumb right to the edge of where the cardstock is being lifted. And you can see I'm doing that kind of dot matrix printer impression as I go along. And just keep going nice and patiently. You don't want to go too fast on this. And as you feel each part smooth down, you can just keep moving along, lifting the cardstock as you go. So you can see this does take a few minutes, but you only need to apply the vinyl once if you get it positioned correctly. So it's worth just taking a bit more time over it to make sure it's right. You might still get a few small air bubbles as you do this, but it's far better than the very large air bubbles and finger marks, fingerprints you can get if you do this too quickly. So you can see I'm just carried on gently pulling off that backing sheet, rubbing my thumb along as I go. And we're not too far off the edge now. You can see probably that there's some cat fur on my vinyl, and this is what I mean by just working in an environment where you don't have very much dust or fur floating around. And I'm nearly at the edge now, I can feel it. So I'm just going to use my thumb to rub that. You might have some very small air bubbles, as I mentioned, but because they're right at the edge, they're very easy to smooth off. Once your vinyl is in place, feel free to just use your thumb and finger, just kind of rub it down gently. And there you go. Perfectly applied vinyl cling for the lid of your MISTI, and this will just prolong the life of that grid, as I mentioned. Okay, so I just want to give a couple more tips on and explain the features of the MISTI before I go. So the first and most important part, the lid. This is what you lift up, and your stamps will actually adhere to the inner lid here. Included with the MISTI is a piece of foam that is cut to fit exactly inside. You've got a sort of laminated or plastic covered grid sheet there just to give you positioning. You would use the foam when you use your thinner stamps, such as your photopolymer stamps or your cling stamps. For your thicker stamps, such as rubber stamps or woodblock stamps, etc., you'd want to remove the woodblock if you're going to use this, but you would remove the foam to use those thicker stamps. Most of the time I use photopolymer stamps, so I keep my foam in the MISTI. As I mentioned before, the grid pad is a really useful accessory to have with the MISTI, and usually I just rip off one of the top sheets and just include that inside my MISTI as well. These magnets, I had to laugh at myself when I was using them. My sweet petunia warns that they are very, very strong magnets and not to let them touch together, because if you try and pull them apart and they end up on your skin, then it can be really painful. And I thought, yeah, I've used magnets before, I'm not particularly worried. And then it did happen to me once, and I actually peeled off some of my skin when I was trying to separate the magnets from my finger. So yeah, not to be recommended. Please do take the advice my sweet petunia gives, and don't keep the magnets close together, because they are very strong. They will attract to each other very, very easily, and it's very difficult to pull them apart afterwards. So keep them spaced apart nicely on your MISTI if you're going to store them with your MISTI. They are very useful, as I said, for just keeping your cardstock in place, and also for just helping to hold down the position exactly when you've got your cardstock on there. So with the grid paper of the MISTI, you can use this along with the grid on the lid to just position your stamps. Your cardstock butts into this corner here, or into this corner, in fact, whichever corner, depending on the size of your cardstock and what position you want it in, and just use the magnets to hold it in place. You would ink your stamp on and just close the lid to stamp. And what's really great about this is if your stamping hasn't come out completely, you just need to re-ink your stamp, stamp it down again, and because of the lid and the clever design of the MISTI, your stamping will always be in exactly the right place. So many different techniques you can do with this, and I'll be bringing some of those to you in future videos. But for now, I just wanted to give you a quick tour of the MISTI. It's a really fantastic tool. Hats off to Ileana for designing such a clever stamping tool that I know everybody wants. It's going to be a staple in your craft room, and you will not regret getting it. Thanks very much for joining me. I'll see you again soon. Bye!